So just going to do that now. And with that, I think, Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you to take it from here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your lunchtime with me. I know how busy all of us are, and I really, truly appreciate that you want to hear what I have to say. So I'm really excited to share with you some of my things that I do in my room for student engagement. I mean, we all, of course, do student engagement, but I really like to focus what I'm doing with my kids on, reflection and exploration with student engagement. But before I do, so let me, sorry, I get nervous. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have been a teacher since 1998. I have been teaching ESL the entire time. I was teaching in K through 12 for a long time for Buffalo Public Schools. And I just was very burnt out. I didn't like it. I didn't want to teach anymore. And then, I left for a while and then came back to adult ed, and it is phenomenal. And I have had such an amazing experience with adult ed. So I want to share some of the things that I do for our students, because our students that we have are so special. And, I really truly feel that we need to give them a stake in their own education. And I feel like some of the things that I'm doing help them to do that. So I hope maybe it'll work for you, maybe they won't, but we'll see. With that being said, these are our objectives for today. The objective of today's workshop will provide you with the opportunity to reflect on your own student engagement methodology. And we'll also, and I'm also going to share some student engagement strategies based in reflection and exploration. Sorry. And I like to have an agenda. I always have an agenda with my kids, and when I'm in a training, I like an agenda. So with the introduction, we're going to talk about what is student engagement, and then reflection and some strategies that go with it, exploration and some strategies that go with it, and then questions. All right, so let's get started. So before we look at a definition of student engagement, I wanted everybody, if you could, I know you're eating, I know you're having your lunch, to please take a minute to reflect on what you think student engagement is. What does it mean for you, either as a learner or as an educator? And then maybe jot down what you think or keep it in your head. And if you'd like to pop your answer in the chat or raise your hand, I thought we could share out some of our answers. I can't see the chat. Oh, maybe, oh no, maybe I can at the top. Sorry, hang on.
Amy, you're mute.
Thank you. Once you share your screen, everything changes on what you're seeing. So I know it's sometimes tough to get back.
Now I can,
you see it? Okay.
It. Yeah. Anyone? Any ideas?
Feel free to unmute yourself and just share verbally or throw something in the chat if you are more comfortable.
Okay, so Marisol said the interest, the attention, the motivation that students show when learning. Yes, exactly. And for us, for some people, I'm sorry, student engagement may mean one thing to one person and something else to another person. Okay, Marie said contact between the instructor and the learner, as well as between the learner and the learner. Yes, and we're going to talk about that. Yes. Okay, let's move on. Let me move to the next screen. Sorry, I'm nervous. Okay, so I just wanted to mention before we talk about the definition, what we just did is a quick write activity. And it's something that I do a lot with my kids because it gives them a chance to sit and reflect first before they answer something. I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm so nervous now. Okay. So it gives them a chance to reflect on something. And I really think that it's so important for them to have the think time before they just have to go ahead and answer. And I think that, they know through this that I'm I will give them that time, and it makes them become more engaged as we're doing it. Okay, so let's just read through the example or the definition. Student engagement refers to how much attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion students show when they are learning or being taught, which extends to the level of motivation that they have to learn and progress in their education. Generally speaking, the concept of student engagement is predicated on the belief that learning improves when students are inquisitive, interested, or inspired, and that the learning, it doesn't suffer when students are bored or dispassionate, disaffected, or otherwise disengaged. So I promise I'm not going to read to you the whole time, but I thought that this was important to read through, and I highlighted the words that for me stand out, because every time when I plan my lessons and stuff like that, this is what I think of, because I don't like to be bored as a learner. Even as I was planning this, I thought, okay, everybody is, just doing this quickly during lunch. I always think of that when I'm planning my lessons. What can I do to get my students engaged? By the way, in my adult division for Buffalo Public Schools, I teach in our youth program. So my kids are 16 to 21. They have phones growing out of their arms. So it's very important for me to think about how can I engage them. All right, so for the next couple slides, I just threw these in here to, so we all learned this in college, but to talk about types of student engagement. So on the left side, the academic and behavioral are things that we can see. We could look and we can say, okay, are they engaged? Are they listening to me? And that's why on Zoom, I'm like, I don't know, are they listening to me? Because I can't see. But then on the other side, the cognitive and the affective, I judge that in my classroom by the community that I've created. I really try hard to have a family. My household here is a bicultural household. My husband is from Ukraine, and I see in our immigrant families, because I'm an ESL teacher, it's very communal. Everybody does something for someone else. So I try to have that in my classroom. So my kids have not just me to rely on, they have themselves and they have each other. And that's what I believe engages them really to come to school every single day. Now, I can't remember, I think Marie was the person who mentioned this, the types of interaction in student engagement. So there's 3 different types. There's learner to content. How are they engaging with the content? For example, I teach my kids active reading skills, the strategies, because I like them to have a procedure when they read. That way they're not just, when you read sometimes, and even in our first language, you just sit and your mind kind of wanders. So I feel like if they have something that's going to actively engage them, like, okay, I have to number my paragraphs. Okay, I'm highlighting what I don't know. I'm circling what's important, things like that. I feel that is engaging them with the content. They're not just sitting with it in front of them. Learner to instructor. Learner, I want to put these 2 together, learner to instructor and learner to learner. For learner to instructor, obviously I'm a people person, and I try to, I stand at my door every morning when they come. I stand at my door every morning when they leave. And we have a WhatsApp chat, because in Buffalo, we talked about the snow a little bit. We have snow days a lot. So I made a WhatsApp chat because my kids are, their English is their second language. So they would know if school was canceled for the snow day. I never expected that it was going to blow up into this thing, this beautiful organic collaboration between myself and the students, and they're always, sharing different things. If they have a problem, if they have this, if they have that, it's a group, it's a communal thing, like a help board almost, that we use every day. And then learner to learner, we're going to talk about this later, but I do a ton of collaboration with my kids, and I let my kids learn from each other, not just learn from me. Okay, next. So I thought we could do a little reflection activity. I just want you to take a minute and just sit and close your eyes. And I think this is so important for us as educators, because we don't ever have a minute in the day. So take a minute, close your eyes, and please think about one of the students that you had, any of your students really, but there's any particular favorite or student that really had a problem or something like that, and think about, as an adult learner, what it must have been like for them to really walk in your room for the first time, to decide, okay, I'm going to go back to school as an adult, and I'm going to do this. Close your eyes and think, how did they feel when they were walking in your room? You don't need to share your answers. There are some things that, of course, I have my kids share, but some things I don't because, and they'll ask me, do we have to share or don't we have to share? But this is pulling back. It's pulling the situation, like, how can I say it? It's making you think of something that is affected by your own, that affected your own life. And then you're putting yourself in their place. So think about like how hard it was for them to come. I think about that all the time. And I think, okay, if those kids are coming, if they have the courage to come to me, what can I do to engage them to make sure that they stay engaged? Like, in other words, like every day when I walk in that building, I think to myself, okay, I have to bring it because those kids are bringing it and they are, they want to finish school. So these kinds of activities, these reflection activities, I feel like number one, it does engage them because they're like, oh, why are we closing our eyes? Number two, it helps them connect to whatever we are learning to their life. And there's no wrong answer. And the kids love that. Students love that. There's no wrong answer for it. And it teaches them to reflect. I really, truly believe that is something that has to be taught. Okay. So sorry. All right. So why is reflection an important piece of student engagement? I made this little graphic to kind of also organize my own mind when I was doing this. So if you look at the left side first, teaching reflection tells students that you value their ability to evaluate and to analyze. It tells them, I trust you. And I think this is so important. It's not just the teacher feeding the students the information. I mean, of course they do that too with the academics and stuff, but I think that, where I think why I've been so successful almost in adult ed is because these are things that I've really focused on. When I was in K-12, it was always like, oh, testing. And so I've been lucky enough to be able to focus on these things. So yes, it tells them that you trust them. It teaches them how to reflect. And then on the other side, the mirrored classroom. I like to share all of their work on the wall. I have my students at the beginning of the year. It helps me to get to know them. It helps us to build a community when we are deciding, okay, how should we put the tables? What should we put on the walls? Like if I'm teaching, for example, adverbs of frequency, I'll have the kids make like the thing that's like 100% to 0 to hang on the wall. So when the students look, they're like, yeah, I see my flag. I see, I see a picture of my country. I see whatever, but it's all student made because I feel like that really helps us to become a family at the beginning of the year, if that makes sense. So these are just some things that I have found successful. Strategies to weave reflection into the classroom routine. The first one, I'm sure everybody does. It's a think, pair, share. And I'm a huge proponent of think, pair, share because the think part helps you reflect and it makes them reflect. And then they are, and I have my kids write down the answers too, and then pair them up and then they can share it out. And it's almost like little steps to like, if they don't like to speak in front of people, they can start quietly with a partner and then, become more brave. And then the next one we talked about, the mirrored classroom. I know I put it twice. I don't know why. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, we talked about that. My kids love, they will bring stuff in and they'll say, Miss, can we hang this up? Miss, my sister made this for you. Can we hang it up? Things like that. And I would want that. If I were in the classroom, like I would want to see myself, a picture of my dog, a picture, things like that. And then the next one, how do I learn? At the beginning of the year, I do an inventory with my students about how they like to learn because I feel like when I was in high school, I didn't know what kind of learner I was. And it was a terrible experience for me. So we talk, we have a big discussion about, what school was like in their countries. How can we incorporate that into our room? Things like that. So I think that it gives the students the autonomy to decide for themselves, like, hey, I don't know, this is noisy for me. I'm going to go sit over here by myself so I can finish my work. And it teaches them a skill that they will need when they go on to school or even to work, right? The open-ended questions. You can see today I asked some open-ended questions. They're my favorite because there are no wrong answers for the students, and they know that I'm going to value what they say. And I think that it's huge. If they feel valued, then they're going to feel like, okay, I don't have to become an entirely new person now that I'm in America. We talk a lot about that. How does your identity change when you come to another country? You know, and how can you still keep who you are, but just a different version of yourself? And then another thing I do is a weekly goal sheet. On Monday mornings, we do like a Monday, a morning meeting and talk about what we're going to do for the week and things like that. And I have them fill out, a couple goals. What's your goal for school this week? What's your goal for your house this week? Do you want to clean your room? Things like that. And then on Fridays, we try to remember to go back and reflect on it again. And again, it's just teaching them life skills that I wish I had. Maybe that's what I should have named the training, because really it's just, it's equipping them to be able to also emotionally handle life once they leave CCI. Okay, and the other component that I thought would be important for me to include is exploration. When I was in K-12, I was lucky enough to work in a school that did both Reggio Emilia, and we did a lot of inquiry-based and project-based learning. So we talked a lot about using a provocation with the kids, and again, an open-ended question. And not only do the open-ended questions help them reflect, but it also helps them to know, to explore. And so first of all, it teaches them critical thinking and analytical skills, because they have to think about what they want to explore. What is it worthy to me? Things like that. Student autonomy, it gives them the choice. If, I have kids that, I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, obviously I always differentiate my, my instruction and my assignments, things like that. But, maybe somebody doesn't feel like doing reading right now. And for me in my own personal classroom, that's okay. If you want to make the choice, if you'd rather do math right now and then reading, it's okay. If they want to do an assignment in a different way and they can explain it why, it's good for me. So it gives them autonomy. Next one, it's okay not to know. We talk all the time about, oh, last night I didn't know this, so this is what I did. And, we'll bring this into the classroom. I will bring it into the classroom. And I think that's, again, it's good for the students to see me say, hey, I made a mistake. Hey, I don't know about this. Let's stop class and let's look and see what we can find. And then also it teaches them inquiry and self-reliance. And that's so important for them once they go to college. I'm going to stop. Are there any questions so far?
This is not the right workshop, obviously. You should probably, you can listen to it, but it's, I don't know what this is. Me too. It's tomorrow.
Any questions, anyone? You can just unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can put in the chat and I will read the question.
Okay, well, I'll go on if there's no questions. All right. Uh-oh, hang on. Okay. All right, so I wanted to share some of the things that I do for exploration. So the first thing that I do, of course, is collaboration. I truly feel that, my students are old enough, they're 16 to 21, and especially when we do math, which is not my strong suit. So every morning we'll do math first thing. And I have found a very good way to do it with my kids, that they collaborate with each other. First out, I'll spend the first couple of days of the week teaching them the lesson, teaching them the vocabulary, the lesson, things like that. And then I set them off to work independently. And what I've found works for them is that they take what they've learned from about math in their countries which is often way higher than what our kids are learning at that age. And they will teach each other. And I feel that this collaboration, it has helped me to see like, all right, who are the leaders in the class and things like that. And it lets them know that they can rely on each other. Is there anyone who'd like to share what kind of collaboration they use in their classroom?
I can share.
Ah, okay.
I work with adults in New York, in Westchester.
Mhm.
Yeah, as you were like sharing, your experience working with your students.
Mhm.
I also have like a WhatsApp group with
Uh-huh.
my students, which is
Uh-huh.
really great. It's like
sorry.
it's a way to also like build up trust, community, because it's a way of communication that it's easy for students to use, because
Mhm.
they are all the time with the WhatsApp, because that's the
Uh-huh.
way that they communicate with their families back in their countries.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and also a way of like sharing not only
Mhm.
like class related materials, but also that's our way to communicate like things going on in the community. Sometimes if we see like a flyer that it's something that it's important for them to learn or attend, or
Mhm.
even like stuff like someone telling me, teacher, I have like a room available that I'm like renting, can you please share this? So things like
Right.
that. So that really makes a difference when you are in class, because the students feel very engaged, not only within the class, but also like they express that it's like a family having
Yes.
like a class. It's like, and that really makes a difference when learning, because
Yes.
they feel more like interested. They come to class. The
Yes.
retention is great, like even though like the current situation right now,
Mhm.
it's just I don't know, I just feel like
Mhm.
I think that's something that makes a difference, like having that, and then everyone collaborates
Mhm.
with everything, not only
Yes.
with the learning process, but also if someone misses a class, someone lives close by, and they said, oh, I'm gonna drop the materials to her, like I share them with WhatsApp, but they want to have it like hard copies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they help each other.
Uh-huh.
They are very tight, like their table. I have 6 tables in my class,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and each table has its a group.
Uh-huh.
It's like they're like kids. They're adults, but they're like kids.
Uh-huh.
And they like help each other so much, like when they work like in groups. So they love like doing the running dictation thing, and it's just so funny how like their inner child
Yes.
comes out. So yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
so yeah, I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Yes, I really appreciate you sharing, Marisol. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I agree completely, 100% with what you're saying. Yes, it is like a family, and it's so nice for them. Yes. Anyone else want to share? What you do for collaboration in your classroom? Okay, well, I'm going to keep going, but please feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt, because I want to hear from you guys. So, a student-led classroom. My kids, I don't know how other classes are, but this group that I have, especially this year, they bring stuff every day for me to share in the classroom, like literally every day, and on the WhatsApp chat. So, but I'm glad that they do. I appreciate it. I'm glad that they feel comfortable enough to do that, because that's what they're there for. Like I said, I want to bring it every day when I come in. And if they want to do something in class, if they want to cover something, that's great for me. So, anyone else do anything like that? Okay.
I think that
Oh,
that makes them feel part of like the class, that
Right.
that it's like you care about them, because
Right.
you see their
Mhm.
their what is it called, their needs and
Right.
what they want to learn, and you
Mhm.
listen to them. So that's great.
Exactly. Yes. And and I really feel, especially for our adult kids kids and people, that, you know, they're coming because they want to come. So I really, truly, strongly feel that they need to feel like they have a stake in their education when they walk in that building every day. That's just my own personal thought. Okay, so the next one is student choice. I give them autonomy. I told you before, over their learning and what they're producing in the classroom. I never say to them, no, that's not the way we do it. I always try to find some kind of way to like let it be okay, as long as it's nothing like dangerous, of course, or anything like that. But I want them to have the freedom to learn. They're so eager to learn that why would I ever say no to them? So I guess is my point. Anybody else do anything like this with student choice? Okay, let me go on to oh,
Hi.
There you go. Go ahead, Alvaro.
Yeah, thank you. Well, basically, what I wanted to say is that when you allow your students to express themselves, you're also, giving them the chance to let you know about their needs.
Mhm.
And when you work with your students, focusing on their needs, that creates an environment of uh, self independent learning, but also it turns every single activity that you do with them into a meaningful one.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
you want them to feel comfortable, you want
Mhm.
them to feel safe,
Mhm.
and you also want them to feel like they're being heard and
Right.
understood.
Exactly. Exactly. And this, thank you so much for sharing. And that made me think that, I went a long time ago, like about 10 years ago, on an education delegation to Cuba with a bunch of other teachers. And one of the main things that we talked about was how in Cuba, everyone partners together. The parents and the teachers and the school, admins and everybody's a partner together. And I love that idea. And I feel that it's very beneficial to education. And like you said, I feel like it makes the kids feel, the students feel valued. It makes them know that you're putting as much of a stake in them as they are into you. Yes, Alvaro.
I think also something very important that happens when we allow this type of interaction with the students is that we also help this learning community to grow big and strong, because I see my classroom as a learning community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I think if you make someone feel like their voice is being heard, their voice is being valued, that they will go out into the community and say, hey, yeah, I do. What I say matters, and go out and give to the collective community. Yes. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna go on. So that's really, oh my gosh. Oh my God, it's only 12:30. I'm so sorry, Amy.
You're fine.
I-
No, we do have, so there was a chat, somebody put into the chat
Okay.
here, that they survey students about what topics they'd like to see for future lessons.
Ah.
Nicole said that she will let them sometimes plan 2 activities and let the
Mhm.
students choose which we do, or split the group up and
Mhm.
do both. And when
Mhm.
teaching a topic, she has students, peer teach via their background knowledge, and then she fills in the gaps.
Definitely. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing. Anything else? Any other comments? Things you want to tell us about? I feel like this is such a great, I didn't know about Lunch and Learns until I was asked to do one. And this is such an amazing opportunity for us to be able to collaborate across New York State.
Yeah, I would encourage you, if you guys have any questions as to, the topic obviously was of interest to you to attend today. What are some of the challenges that you're experiencing when it comes to student engagement? And,
Mhm.
of course, I know that that filters into retention, which is always a big piece of our conversation of, how do we keep these students coming back?
Mhm.
And that's it could look very different for different programs, different people, depending on, you know, who they are and what their goals are. But you know, what are some of the challenges? Again, knowing that you all signed up for this for the reason that you were interested in the topic, but what are some of the challenges? Maybe you don't have as many ideas on what you're doing to build the engagement, but what are some of the challenges that you're seeing that have resulted in the lack of engagement, perhaps? If anybody has any problems that they'd like to troubleshoot a little bit, I suppose. You just have a quiet group today. That's all, Emily.
We do. Yes. Wait, okay, Nicole said, perhaps we can all share some participatory activities and planning models that we find engage students. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I know, Emily, you shared a handful of activities that you use in your classroom to build that participation, but I'd love to hear from
Right.
other people. You know, what are some other things that people do in their classrooms, specifically instructionally? I'm not sure, you know, we didn't go around obviously and share what role each of us play if
I
some are
know,
more
we should have
admin
done that.
focused. I know, that's all
Uh-huh.
right. But you never know when you have a large group of people, how long something like that will take.
Right,
But
yes.
yeah, but I am curious, you know, it doesn't matter if it's ESL or GED students or just ABE students, whatever type of students that you are working with, but what are some of the, again, what are some of those activities that you use to build that engagement among your students? Nicole, since you suggested the topic, do you have anything that you do that you'd like to share? I mean, I know you already did, but any others that come to mind?
I just have to say, sorry, that I do use popsicle sticks sometimes to get them to participate. I use popcorn reading to get them to participate. And what else would I do? Well, those two things. Yeah. But most of the time they're all like, teacher, and it's okay. But
Yeah. Role plays. Yeah. And also like choose the topics that are like you know, I do the same, like at the beginning of the cycle, I give them a survey with like different topics, like what would you like to learn, you know, this cycle, like about family, transportation, like health, work, you know, and trying to incorporate also social justice, you know, topics into like the units that I'm teaching, because let's say if I'm teaching about like work, teaching them about like pay stub, how to read pay stubs, like how to, you know, all those things that they don't know, but they should know, like about their rights. And inviting also, like in my the organization that I work for, we have like it's big, so we have other like organizers, and then inviting them to our class, and not only engaging, you know, among them, the teacher, but also like all the other staff from our organization, because our goal is to not only to teach them the language, but also to teach them like about their rights, and you know, how to navigate in New York, like how to navigate also like different services that we have in New York.
Thank you for sharing.
So I really like Marisol idea of, and I think it's really promotes engagement when you connect the classroom with the students' reality and what actually they live every day. Like creating debates, maybe using local news and newspaper and using all that stuff. I think that creating an additional layer of interest for the students and have them come to class. But I love your idea of reflecting and how that really creates that opportunity for the students to feel that they are part of a system. So I thought it was great. It's very
Thank you. Well, you know, I mean, in my case, for my kids, for the youth, you know, my niece is living. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Alfred
my
has
niece-
that question.
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
no, go, let's do the
Oh.
question first.
Well, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that I love what Marisol and Paula just mentioned,
Mhm.
because to me that's the perfect example of how to promote social emotional
Mhm.
intelligence in the
Mhm.
classroom. And by doing so, I mean, you're also helping your students to thrive, because again, you're allowing them to express themselves, not only in terms of the topics that we know are important to teach in the classroom, but also the topics that they believe are very influential and very um, decisive for their
Mhm.
lives.
Mhm. Yes, thank you.
Sarah,
Thank you.
Sarah had a comment in the chat. Icebreakers and simple games are great to engage and get students comfortable in a group setting when they first come in.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
we, okay,
I was just gonna share, my program is different in that it's volunteer-based tutoring. So everything we do is one-on-one with a volunteer tutor and a student. Matter of fact, Alvaro, I just realized why I remembered your name, and it's because you came through our training. Nice to see you. I didn't, yeah, it's a small one. But so a lot of the work we do, because it's all individualized, we have the luxury, I'll say, of being able to tailor everything we do with a student to their individual preferences and interests as best we can. We try to balance that with the reality that folks have to be able to read and use English in even areas they may not want to and not be excited about. But we can try to lean on those interests because of the one-on-one format. So I realize that that's unique to kind of some of the stuff that we do. But another one that I've heard across the state that I'm always really interested in are the student ambassador programs that they have. And I think you might have had that at one point. I'm not sure, Emily, at CCI, but having strong students be mentors or linked up with a friend. And some of our programs do this even with volunteer tutors, of linking them up with a tutor who's been around for a while to just lean on and ask questions to. And, you know, I think that for students even more so, that's super impactful to, you know, like you started us off with, Emily, what would you feel if you walked into that adult ed classroom for the first time, needing to
Right.
learn as an adult, and how would you feel? And as I started jotting things down, I was thinking alone, nervous, just very apprehensive and kind of on the
Right.
fence of if I'm going to keep doing this.
Exactly.
I feel like all the students enter. So having someone that's like them, no matter what the age, right? But that's an adult in this class, and I'm paired up with them, just, you know, that initial, from the second I walk in, I know I have that person who's willing to chat with me and be my friend in class. I
Right.
think that that really minimizes some of that scariness of that new environment, and tries to cut down on you know, on just having that person feel isolated and not have
Right.
someone they can talk to. So I think that that type of program, even if it's just within your own class, it doesn't have to be you know, an agency-wide effort.
Exactly.
It could just be that you've identified some stronger students in your class, stronger in terms of, you know, outgoingness, personality, and things like that, where they'd be willing to. And, you know,
Right.
I think gently asking them if they'd be willing to link up with new students that come into the class, and just help them along so that they remain engaged and keep coming and can do all the things that they're there to do. So I've always really appreciated hearing a lot about the student ambassadors, and again, my program operates just a little bit differently, but I see that there's a lot of value in something like that.
Right. Yes. I completely agree. Now I'm inspired to start a program right in my classroom. Sorry, my dog is making noise. She's getting out from under my bed. I'm so
Of
sorry.
course.
Now, come on.
That's the best
Oh
part
my
of
God,
Zoom
sorry.
meetings, is if we have animals. Nicole also just shared a whole bunch of things. Nicole mentioned mingle activities like quiz trade, or talk walk, getting folks up and moving to check comprehension by multiple choice corners or team face-off style. That's interesting. I used to, when I was doing student teaching, I made a basketball game with a piece of paper and a trash can for, like, I think it was spelling we had to do or something. And the kids loved it because, and these were kids, they were in 5th grade. So, but just being able to, they had to throw, if they got it in, they got to answer the question or spell the word or whatever it was. It was just a really, I don't say dumb game, but it gave them something more active to do, and it kind of flipped their thinking of like, oh, it's spelling, and it's like, no, it's a game, and you are on a team, and builds
Right.
that collaboration and the camaraderie,
Exactly.
and I think
Uh-huh.
stuff like that goes a long way. Peer
Uh-huh.
teaching also was mentioned, and jigsaw readings, poster making, gallery
Mhm.
walks,
Mhm.
graphic organizers. I'm a huge fan, especially with the low literacy students that we serve in our program, of using
Right.
lots of graphic organizers to just
Mhm.
minimize the literacy demands that people are experiencing.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, these are all great suggestions.
They are. I'm curious to know what Talk Talk Walk is. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever used that before. Anyone?
Talk Talk Walk is known by many names, actually. It's known by like Mingle, Chat, and Switch. You can have the students make conversation questions, or you can create conversation questions or topics to discuss. And then each person gets a different card, and you mingle around the room, find someone you haven't spoken to,
Mhm.
and you ask your question, and everyone discuss, the two people discuss, and then the other person asks their question, they discuss, and then when they're done, they switch cards and move
Mhm.
on to a new person with a new question.
I like
Ooh,
it.
love that.
It's great.
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's great.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing.
Of course, my pleasure.
I was so afraid no one would participate.
Sometimes you just got to get people warmed up a little bit. and-
You do. I think so.
Yeah.
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 Sorry I hadn't spoken sooner. I'm recovering from something.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no.
That's
Oh.
seems to be
I
the case
appreciate
for
you
many.
reading for me earlier, Amy.
Oh, yes, of course. That's why I'm here. I can start the training and turn it over to Emily, and also do read things for you. So yes, I'm happy to
Thank
help.
you.
Did anyone else have anything else they'd like to share? If so, just take yourself off mute or place it into the chat, and I will read it for you.
Marie has said that she taught for 30 years. That's a quite long time.
Oh yeah.
Kudos
Yes,
to
I
you. Right?
And you've been retired for a year. Oh, how wonderful. And you're still coming to Lunch and Learns, Marie. Good job. Good. Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I suppose as well, I would just like to thank Emily for her time today. Emily, thank you so much for the information. It's funny because we were at a partners breakfast this morning and bumped into each other, even though we hadn't met yet. So I was planning on seeing her for the first time on Zoom, but we actually met in person earlier today.
Yes.
It was lovely to.
Yes.
It was very random, but it happened, and
It
it was
was.
nice. And on the
It
day that
was.
we were going to be meeting virtually too.
Yes.
But I really appreciate Emily's time today, as we do all of our members that participate in our Lunch and Learns. I appreciate all of you attending. We are going to be continuing this on a monthly basis. I can tell you right now that our next one will be in March, and we have some ESL teachers from Literacy West who are going to be presenting. So we'll be sending out information about that to the membership through email, as we did this one. I encourage you to sign up for it, and we'll also make the recordings available on our YouTube channel and make sure that people have the knowledge of how to access those. So we'll be sending that email out with the information. If you ever have any suggestions on topics that you'd like to see NIACE present on during the Lunch and Learns, we're more than happy to take the feedback. Our board members go through each month and just kind of volunteer to do different topics, but if there are any requested topics, we will look to find, who has information to share across the entire state, which is a real benefit to us to be able to collaborate to this degree. And if you aren't aware, we do have our annual conference coming up at the end of April. It starts April 30th, May 1st and May 2nd in Albany. And if you want more information about that, you can find it on our website at niace.org. And again, thank you so much, Emily, for your time today. Thank you
Yes,
all for
thank
joining
you.
us. It was great to see you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
everyone. Okay.